If you're looking to craft custom AI solutions, you are in the right place. Today, I have the pleasure to introduce Tamara and Martin. Tamara is a leader in the field of AI innovation, currently serving as the Senior Director of AI Innovation at Slalom, where she has contributed significantly since 2017. She's a professor at Marysville University of St. Louis, teaching the future of digital experience, and at LaunchCode, focusing on data science and user experience. Before joining Slalom, Tamara was the Director of Data Science and Director of Enterprise Business Architecture at Bayer. Second up, speaking with Tamara is Martin Gardner. Martin is a Senior Delivery Principal at Slalom in London and leads the Salesforce data integration and migration practice. His expertise is grounded in working on challenging projects, and prior to Slalom, Martin has held previous positions at PwC, Experian, British Telecom Group, and more. He's a thought leader in the Salesforce community with 11 certs. Please welcome to the stage first, Martin Gardner.
AI solutions, what are we going to be talking about? So I'm going to go through where we are, what we can do, where we need a plan, what the plan will be, will it work, and then we're going to talk about the POC trap, which may follow on from there. Where are we? At the moment, I think we can all agree we're beset on all sides by a deluge of Gen AI tools, products, and solutions. I've put a few on the screen here. There are many more. And of course, there's obviously our friend Einstein there on the Salesforce platform. And I think where we are at the moment, we're just dropping off that peak of inflated expectations. So things are, starting to look good, but a few niggles are creeping in and people are starting to become a little bit disillusioned. They're asking about what can I actually do? Where am I going to go with this? And so that is making people a bit kind of uncertain about what's happening. What can we do with generative AI? Where can we use it in our business, and what can it do for us? And that's the main problem I want to talk about here. Here's some of the things that generative AI can do for us, and you may well already understand this, but let's just go through it anyway. So we've got text generation. We can generate text on any topic that the LLM has got a use case for and has been trained on. We can translate things. So if a model has been trained with multiple languages, we can easily then translate new text, novel text from one language to another. That can come in really handy if we've got a chatbot, for example, and we want to be able to support multiple source languages. We don't necessarily want to have to code up a translator ourselves. We can just use an LLM to do that translation for us, so that an agent who only has one language can actually support multiple languages for the customers. I'm sure everyone has seen content summarization. That's something that it does really well, because obviously that's kind of part of the point of an LLM, is to compress or summarize data and text. It can rewrite things, so it can take a piece of text you've prepared and rewrite it in a different style. Perhaps it could write it in a rap, or probably something more more useful would be in a more professional business style, or in a friendly style, or any style that you would want aligned to your business branding. It can do things like classification and categorization, sentiment analysis, and then with all those together, we end up with something that can deliver a conversational chatbot where it's talking with customers in like a human would. Okay, so that's everything it can do. But what about in a business context? What can it do for us? I'd like to consider this in 3 areas. So we've got service augmentation, which is about transforming the experience of our customers, so that, sorry, not our customers, our employees, so that they can deliver better service to our customers. doing things like helping them search through reams and reams of data and documents to find the right answer, or improving the efficiency of a contact center by automatically routing cases to the right people at the right time. Perhaps it's deflecting cases and sending the customers directly to the information they need without intervention from an employee. And maybe it's about it could also be driving intelligent data input, so extracting information from unstructured data and then putting that into the right data fields in CRM. Code enrichment is kind of a behind the scenes kind of capability where that's the kind of coding copilot applications. We're enhancing our engineering productivity there. So we're allowing people to build solutions and write code more quickly, or we're analyzing code for typical vulnerabilities or smells that would indicate that this code was not as robust as we'd like, or would perhaps have some problems. And the final area there is content generation. So marketing teams can make use of generative AI to produce their new novel content, bring some new ideas or some new creativity into the process, to perhaps make product documentation more concise, and to automatically summarize meeting notes, which I've seen used many times here at Slalom. People are monitoring their Teams meetings and coming up with automatic meeting notes, and that's really accelerating things because we don't have to wait so long for someone to write up the notes and send them around. So those are the three kind of pillars of capability that we could put into a business context, having looked at the main capabilities of generative AI just now. I'm going to dive further into service augmentation and talk a little bit more about that from here on. So what are some of the things that Gen AI is good at which overlap with the tasks that are time consuming for our customers? So when you are operating a customer service business or a business that has a customer service department, your employees will be spending a lot of time doing these three things. They will be managing the FAQs, perhaps on a website, or internal FAQs that define all of the information about the products that you're selling and how to support them. When a customer calls in, they'll be gathering context at the beginning of every call to try and understand what the customer wants. So some of that will be asking them customer questions, but it may also be searching through the system, looking for previous contact points that they've had with the organization, and digging through, looking at the history of those interactions to get an idea of what the customer might be needing outside of just what they're exactly asking for. And the third area is that customer service involves answering questions for customers. And one of the great ways of getting them to do that is to get them to do that themselves without engaging our customer service teams. So if they can't find what they need in the published FAQs, they're going to contact us. And what we are seeing is that, well, what I've found actually in my own interactions is FAQs on websites rarely have exactly the right answer that I'm looking for. Usually they have answers that are kind of nearly there, but there's a bit of information missing and it's not quite right. So that is a pain, and they're often difficult to search as well because they're not because of the amount of effort it takes on the left-hand side there with the management of the FAQs to keep them up to date, to keep them tagged correctly so that they show up correctly in the search engine. So those are the three areas there where we've got a lot of work that's going on. It's time consuming and it's not really adding value for the amount of time it takes. So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to address these pain points? What can we use Gen AI for, or how exactly are we going to do it? So let's make a plan. for managing each of those areas. And let's look at managing the FAQs first of all. So what do we need to do when we're managing a bank of FAQs? Well, firstly, we need to be able to write new ones. So as the new products are released, or we have changes in the environment, perhaps we're operating in a very very dynamic environment, say perhaps as an air what's the word, an air carrier. And weather patterns can sometimes disrupt our operations. So maybe we need to be loading in FAQs about particular disruptions due to hurricanes or those sorts of events. So we want to make that as easy as possible. We also need to edit and update existing things to keep them up to date, and take out articles that are out of date. We might also want help adding tags and search terms to those FAQs so that they show up nicely in searches. And we want to avoid our knowledge base getting out of date. So what can we do? Knowledge base generation, that's what we can do. So we can point our generative AI at our existing set of data, both the FAQ data and also the cases and interactions in, say, Salesforce, and get it to suggest new FAQ entries or articles. Then we can put that through an approval process with our panel of employees and subject matter experts, and they can make a decision as to whether to include that into the quora of information. We've tried this with a few customers, and it's worked really well. We've been able to find sort of hundreds of new high quality Q&A pairs that enhance the FAQ set and helped both the call center staff, contact center staff, to answer the questions, but can also then be pushed out to the website and exposed to the customers so they can answer their questions. And what we're doing there is finding all those things that people are having to contact contact center for. So maybe they don't find the question or the answer that they're looking for, so they raise a case, they email in or they phone in and they ask their question. What we're doing there is finding all those common questions and actually creating a new FAQ for them. And that's something that generative AI is really good at, because it means reading a lot of text and pulling out key threads of information and then compressing that down into something useful. So that's a really good use case that we can employ. That leads on then to agent-assisted Q&A. So what we might be having there, I've got an example of something of how this might work here. So we have almost a chatbot sitting in the background looking over the shoulder of the agent at their live chat with the customer or at the email they're reading. And the generative AI then is suggesting answers that they could give. This has the added benefit of supporting multiple languages as well. So this is where we would be able to plug in that translation engine, so our agents can respond to the customer in their own language and not have to enforce that the customer speaks English, for example. And this gives us a way of building a bit of confidence and also helping our agents be more effective and not have to be thinking constantly about what they should write. So they get a suggested bit of text that they can put in as their response, or they can tweak that. And they can also provide feedback into the model to help train it or tune it to give better answers next time. So those are the two areas for managing our FAQs and assisting our agents in giving better answers to questions. Moving on then for our plan for context gathering. So how can we make it easier for our customer to get to an agent and get the get a quick answer from that agent. So we want that agent who's answering the call, either a phone call or a live chat, to be right on it. So as soon as the customer gets through to them, the agent can respond and say, yes, I know exactly what you're after. I can see that you've spoken to us several times before. This is what we're going to do to help you. This is really powerful. And we can point this at a lot of information in Salesforce to make it useful. We have little components we can put on the Salesforce screens that summarize that information, present it to the user in a quick way, and stops them having to click through lots of different pages in order to get the information they need. And here's a little fun video of a little demo that I built out a while ago. Now, obviously, you don't really need to have a button to click this. You want it to load on page load, but it looks quite nice being all typed out like that. So the idea being that we've got this contact on the phone or on a chat, and we can quickly get sight of what's happened. And we didn't have to go and scroll down and look through each of those cases to get the information we're after. So that gives us a really nice way of gathering the context that we need for the customer call in order to really leapfrog across that sort of 10 to 30 second usual slowdown where someone's hunting around looking for our records. I'm sure you must have had it when you phone someone up and you give them your name and they're, oh, right, okay, I'm just typing a number. I'm just bringing up your details on the system. We can get rid of that. The system will give them the information. So let's look then at how we can plan for customer self-service and get generative AI into not exactly the hands of our customers, but it's kind of enabling our customers to get going. So searching FAQs is tedious and hard work. It doesn't always produce the answers we want. Sometimes we might want an answer that actually spans multiple questions, or requires some kind of subtle combination of information. So what we can do there is, having built out the previous two steps where we're building our confidence in generative AI infrastructure and framework, we put that bot out into the real world, and we give it the information from our FAQs and our case data, and it can then make answer questions that the customers ask. We can use that language translation as well. So kind of out the box, it can speak whichever languages the underlying LLM has been trained on, and it can allow our clients, our customers, to get that critical information really quickly. So one other option for this, if we didn't want to put a chatbot out there, would be to have like a search box that's actually driven by the chatbot. So we have more kind of a natural language search option, but it'd still be the same kind of thing under the hood. So then this is how it kind of looks with a, usual Salesforce live chat box, but with the responses completely automated through the chat bot. And I've got a little live demo here of how this might work for someone contacting Slalom United, who are a football team, a completely fictional football team, and they're interacting with Fanbot here, talking about wanting to buy season tickets, and we can see that the chatbot is responding with data that's come from a number of different sources. So it's come from the FAQs, the website, but it's also looking forward at what we might be able to do to integrate this with, say, Commerce Cloud, where the bot itself can reach out and put things in the customer's basket based on what they're asking for. So there's some quite exciting things we can do with this. So I've gone through the plan. So those are the three areas that I think we could be looking at in order to harness the what can be done with generative AI. How do we actually execute that plan? I think this is probably the best way to go about doing it. We're going to lay the groundwork with the contact summarization and knowledge base generation, the internal activity that enables and enhances the ability of our employees to get their job done. That will help us to build trust both within our employee group and across the whole of our business in the underlying technology. And we can build that trust further by going further, deploying the agent-assisted Q&A, where we have a chatbot monitoring what the agent is saying and making suggestions in the background that they can either accept or ignore and provide feedback on. And once we've deployed that, we've got that settled, we've built enough trust to then accelerate with confidence and push the generative AI experience out to our customers with some self-service chatbots or search agents. So you might ask, does this all work? Yes, it does. So here are 4 examples of some situations where we've used our framework and deployed these sorts of features to customers and seen success in production. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Tamara.
Thank you, Martin, so much. So much exciting opportunity here. Thank you for sharing those things. And what we've seen over the last year as we've, helped all of our clients really start to lean into the opportunity here is some of that seeing is believing, right? This is why we built 1,000 demos for 1,000 customers in 100 days, because you have to see the opportunity here in order to really understand what you want to build, what to go after. And the opportunities are so endless that there's so much value to be had. Where to start sometimes is the place to make sure you make the right choices. But the next place to talk about after you're out there building and experimenting and creating these POCs is, how do you not get stuck in what we're calling the POC trap? This is a really important thing to talk about, and want to make sure to share with you all some of what we've learned as we've stood these things up, both for those POCs and demonstrations, but also to get into that space of an MVP of the scaled success story that lets you extract the value that you're looking for. There's a few areas that really represent why you might get into that POC place, right? There's the POC that you're building, you're learning, you're discovering all of the things that are potentially, additional features and opportunities to add into that. And that learning is exciting, but we need to get to MVP, to production, and to scale. The first thing that you might see here is that the innovation mirage is there, right? This is an emerging technology. So you want to take that innovation and test and learn type of mindset. And, but you don't want to fall into those pitfalls, right? Of having fun learning, but not actually moving into the next stage of, focusing on the novelty. And again, what it is you're going to be able to learn small scale. There's a lot to learn as you scale. And so keeping going through that innovation, stage process is important. Scaling is tough. You want to basically generate those capabilities, but demonstrate them. But you don't want to neglect some of the experiments around scaling. Some of that adaptability that you need. You want to understand, retrieval and observability to make sure you're staying on the rails. There's so many things to learn in scaling experiments that you want to start to get to those as soon as you can. The compliance, the ethics, some of those blind spots, you need to have new processes in place around red teaming and making sure that you're getting, the right data out, the right data in, that you're getting the accuracy that you need. We talk about the intelligence in the models on a spectrum of accuracy to creativity, and you really understanding what it is you need and making sure that you have that in place. The observability, the processes to test really thoroughly to make sure you're in that zone. The strategy technology disconnect, right? These things are important too. You want to understand what is the value that you want to put in place, right? You might, now that you're starting to put these POCs out there, start to have a whole backlog of use cases and opportunities that you need help prioritizing and to making sure that you're going to, not only when you get to MVP, but to scale, to start to see the ROI out of. And this is where a lot of people are stuck too, getting that POC to production so that you're starting to measure that ROI. Can I have you move to the next one, Martin? We're going to look at some specific examples across this particular, zone of POC to MVP to scale. And we have highlighted just a few of what those opportunities are, again, where you want to put some things in place so that you can get unstuck from POC. So we're going to look at the intersections of each of these kind of stages. So in the next slide, we're going to look at how to get from POC to MVP. And these are some of the places that we focus. So when we're talking about those areas of focus of POC to MVP, we're going to talk about them in the context of our 5 pillars. And we look at these 5 pillars as the successful implementation. That is the broad set of perspective that you need to bring into everything that you build. So this is workforce and organization, tech and data, the customer and business value, and that ROI. How do you get alignment strategically around your organization, as well as, of course, the security, ethics, and governance, responsible AI. So just to hit on a few again in those zones as you're moving from POC to MVP, let's look at that one next. And for you to call out here again in these 5 pillars of opportunity, under tech and data, let's focus on your tech stack readiness for POC development, right? Do you have the right tech stack? Are you, making sure that it is in the right environments, that you have the security set up that you need? That's going to be the first thing, because as you go to MVP, the tech stack that you built on might not be enterprise ready or enterprise grade. You might need to start to shift and change some things. Maybe your models need to change. Maybe other aspects of your tech stack need to change. The next part is making sure that those objectives are integrated into your broader AI strategy, that those are clear. We understand the ROI, how we're going to measure value, or what customer success or product success looks like. Another one that I'll highlight here is, making sure that you have the customer value clearly laid out and that you have your business users aligned on some of that. Next stage on the next slide, Martin, is we go from POC to MVP. This is where it's going to be really important to make sure that red teaming exercise is in place, that we're in our MVP monitoring for observability and outputs in the retrieval, that we are really doing that testing at scale and testing all of the edges, make sure that we're going to get what we need from this. We've seen already examples in the news on this, right? Where we've seen car dealerships, their bot sold someone a car, brand new vehicle for $3, and they have to uphold that sale. We've seen it most recently around some different policies and things like that, where companies are being held responsible for the things that their bots are doing. So we want to make sure that we're in the guidelines that we want to be. Next up is that cross-functional alignment, right? We need to make sure that everybody knows that this is out there, that this is, we're starting to push this to production and understand what those expectations are. What does support look like for business as usual? What is the different, areas that this might touch in different parts of your business, upstream and downstream of where the bot is sitting? We want to make sure that we have all that alignment and everybody is aligned with, what their part in supporting this is. Another piece here as we go into MVP ready to ship is having those success metrics. Even better if those are integrated into the product, that those are capturing data around usage, they are doing some notifications around different events, or really telling us what's happening as we start to bring this out to a live product. Let's go to the next slide then too. We're looking next up at going from MVP to scale. So much to look at here. This is where we need to scale our data privacy and security measures. We need to understand that, what does performance look like in terms of managing the architecture for workloads, making sure that response times are what we need them to be to really go to scale. What do we need to look at in terms of marketing strategies? The reason we're putting this out there is because we want to signal to the market of our AI capabilities, of the things that we're bringing, how we're differentiated amongst our competitors. We need some marketing support for that. We really want to start to look at the whole ecosystems of tools and platforms that are integrated around this, right? How can we take this to the next level in our product roadmap to really start to get the usage and scale out of it? Is there something that we need to do? Maybe this is an internal capability. Do we need to skill our people? Do we need to help them to understand how to use this, how to get the most out of it? What is that plan to make sure that we have everybody scaled up and skilled up the way we need them to be?